Welcome to Theory of Pets. I'm a passionate pet owner with a drive to help others like me uncover the truth about the pet industry and what goes on behind the scenes. As some of you may already know, if you frequently listen to my show, I love to go hiking with my dogs. We have a chocolate lab who's going to be 3 in June and a Beagle Cocker Spaniel mix who had just turned 2 in January. So we have young dogs. We are active. We're definitely an active family. We really enjoy hiking. I live in the state of Maine, so it's very rural here. We have a lot of different national parks and hiking trails, designated areas that are dog friendly. And we love taking advantage of the spring, summer, and fall weather here in Maine. Of course, anywhere that you live, there's going to be some great times of the year to go hiking with your dog. I often get asked by family and friends about hiking with dogs. I have also known a few people who didn't do any research and they just kind of thought, oh, it'll be fun to take our dogs with us. And they didn't have very good results from that. So I wanted to take this opportunity to talk about hiking with dogs, the importance of preparing yourself and your dog for the trip, what to do while you're hiking with your dog, things to bring along with you, and actually what to do after the hike as well, because it doesn't just end when you get in the car to go home. So today I wanted to kind of give you a little Sam's basic guide to hiking with dogs, if you will. So let's start right from the beginning. Things that you need to do before you even go on your hike. There are some precautions to take. You do need to make sure that your dog is going to behave. That is usually not a problem for older dogs, but some dogs aren't as well behaved. If your dog doesn't have recall training, if he doesn't know his name, if he can't or doesn't come back to you when you call him, that might be a major problem in the event that he gets off of his leash and gets away from you. He needs to be obedient to your commands. Your dog also needs to be able to socialize with people and other dogs. Being a little skittish is one thing, but being aggressive, especially leash aggressive, some dogs aren't aggressive normally, but you put them on a leash and they have what's called leash aggression. That's going to be a major problem. You may not meet anybody, especially if you're going to a more rural area where, there's not a whole lot of people around, but the chances of you meeting somebody are pretty good. And whether you meet just a hiker or somebody with another dog, you need to make sure that your dog is going to behave. Even if you just hold onto your dog and stand on the side of the trail, you have to make sure that he's not going to be growling, barking, lunging, trying to pull the leash or pull on you to get towards people or other dogs. So you really do need to think about your dog and his behavior. Is he going to be able to handle this type of an adventure? One of the things that you also want to make sure is that your dog's going to have the stamina to keep up on the hike that you're going on. I always recommend, if you're starting out hiking with your dog, most of us take our dogs for short walks every day. And if you're doing that, great. If you're not doing that, start out there and then work your way up. If you usually walk on the city sidewalk around your block and it's flat and it's smooth, try going on some hiking trails. Go to a park, go to an area where there's going to be roots that your dog might have to be paying attention to and stepping over. Go to places where there might be hills that, it takes a little bit more endurance to walk up and down hills than it does on flat stretches. So, increase, gradually the extent of what you're already doing. Start where you're at because that's what you're used to. That's what your dog's used to. And then gradually increase from there. And that'll give both of you a better idea of what you're getting into and the different hikes that you can plan. When you feel like you're ready to take on a hike, you want to make sure that your dog is going to have proper identification. If you're somewhere, obviously a park, a city street, your dog should have proper identification there as well. But it's particularly important while hiking because you're going to be in an area that's not familiar to your dog or yourself. So microchips are great if you can get your dog microchipped. And I actually did a podcast episode on microchipping. I spoke with an expert in that area, and I got some more information about that a few weeks ago. So if you want to check that out, you can jump on our website, theoryofpets.com, and just scroll down through the episodes. And a few weeks ago, you'll see that there was one on microchipping. So you can check that out. You can also invest, if you want to, in a GPS tracking collar. Those are great devices. They're also expensive. And if you're not going to be hiking with your dog every weekend, they're probably not necessary. The best thing that you can do is get him microchipped. Make sure that he has an ID collar. They do make harnesses and collars now that actually have identification sewn right into them, and that's a really great thing because if you're out hiking and say his ID tag gets caught on something and it pulls off, it's sewn right onto his collar or his harness, whatever he's wearing. So that's great. If your dog wears a hiking backpack, make sure that you write, even just use a Sharpie marker and write on the inside of the backpack so that if somebody finds your dog, they're going to know who to contact to get him back where he belongs. The other thing I recommend if you're new to hiking with your dog is to take your dog to the vet. It's definitely important if your dog has a health condition. It's definitely important if your dog is older, but it's important for younger dogs too. You never know what the vet might find. Maybe your dog is young, but he has early onset hip dysplasia or arthritis. Maybe your vet listens to his heart and hears a rhythm that's a little off, that's a little irregular. And so he recommends maybe no strenuous exercise or something like that for your dog. There are a million different reasons why a vet might not recommend you taking your dog for a hike, and it's better to be safe than sorry. Like I said, even with a young dog, especially if you have a senior dog, and especially if you have a dog with a health condition, you need to run it past your vet. Just take him in for a quick checkup. Your vet's going to clear him in no time. It doesn't take a long time, and if there is an issue, you want to be aware of that anyway. So it really is a win-win situation either way. Even if you find out something about your dog, at least you know, and you can work and go from there. And of course, if you have an older dog or a dog with a health condition, you want to make sure that you're making the best choice for him, even if you want to go hiking and you're looking forward to it. Obviously, doing what's best for your dog needs to be your number one priority. So you have to think about that. The other thing that I always tell pet owners before they start hiking is to make sure that their dog is protected from fleas and ticks, parasites, bacteria carrying insects can pose a threat like mosquitoes. So make sure your dog's prepared for that. There's so many different treatments. When you're at the vet, you can talk to them about that. There are pills that you can give your dog once a month. They just chew up the little tablet and they're protected from fleas and ticks for a month. There are topical treatments. There are sprays. There are collars. There are natural remedies. There are so many things that you can do. And when you're out in the woods, it's really important. Like I said, a lot of those parasites and insects carry bacteria. They can carry very harmful diseases. So you want to make sure your dog is prepared for that. And that's something that you want to do before you go out, set off into the woods. You don't want to just strap a flea collar on your dog in the morning and take him out. It's something that you want to be prepared for. You want to find the right treatment for or preventative, I should say, not treatment. At this point, your dog doesn't have anything, right? So the right preventative measure for your dog. And the other thing that you can do while you're at the vet is make sure that your dog's updated on vaccinations. You never know. There's going to be things to eat and get into. There's going to be other animals in the woods. There might be feces from another animal. Feces spreads a lot of different diseases. So making sure that your dog is up to date on vaccinations is a definite. If you bring your dog to the vet to have him checked out to make sure that he's able to go hiking, your vet should be checking on that anyway. But if they don't mention his vaccines, just make sure that you take the time to specifically ask about that. Now we're getting closer. You've gotten your okay from your veterinarian, and now it's time to think about, your dog, what you're going to need to bring with you, and what you're going to need to make sure that he is safe while you're on a hike. As I mentioned, you want to make sure that your dog's temperament is okay for this, is going to be okay for this kind of environment. And leash training is another thing. Is your dog well behaved on a leash? There are some places where you can hike with your dog off leash. I really don't recommend this unless you're an avid hiker and you've done this a lot. The more that you hike with your dog, the better you're going to get to know him, and you're going to get to know his reactions to things better. So in the beginning, I recommend 100% keeping your dog on a harness, in a harness and on a leash at all times. Don't ever take him off, because you never know when somebody could be coming around the next corner, or somebody else's dog might be loose and come running up to you or something like that. 100% always keep your dog on a leash. It's better safe than sorry. Small dogs might be easier to handle on a leash. Big dogs, if they're not leash trained properly, that's going to be a challenge. So think about that. If you're sure that your dog is prepared, that he's healthy and he's got the okay from the vet, and you think that his temperament is going to be fine, and you're ready to move on with your planning, now it's time to think about where you want to go, and the distance, the amount of hiking that you want to do in a day. And this is going to come down to your dog as well. For example, if you have a small breed, small breeds may not be able to hike as long as large breeds. Their legs, their bodies get tired easily. If your dog is out of shape, overweight, he's not going to be able to hike for a long period of time. Think about overweight humans and how difficult it would be for them to jog a half a mile. It's the same thing for your dog. It's going to be harder for him if he's out of shape. So start small and work your way up. If you have a young dog, an active dog, a dog that loves to just go, 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 you might be able to plan a hike for a couple of miles, and it's not going to be a problem. But while you're hiking, and I know we're fast forwarding a little bit, but this goes hand in hand with the planning of your trip. While you're hiking, keep an eye on your dog. Notice if he's starting to get worn down. Think about it. If you've walked for a mile, you're going to need to turn around and walk a mile back to get back to your vehicle. So if you've walked a mile and you notice that your dog's already getting tired and you've got another mile and a half or 2 miles to go, it's probably a good idea to just call it a day, turn around and walk that mile back to the car, because by the time you get to the car, your dog's going to be exhausted. If you kept pushing and going that extra mile or 2 miles, by the time that you get to where you turn around, your dog's going to be exhausted. He's not going to want to go back to the car, and that's not going to be good for you or for him. So keep an eye on your dog as you're going. Planning's all well and good, but sometimes we don't plan correctly, and that might be an issue that comes up. So just keep an eye on your dog as you're going along. And if you think he's starting to get tired, just call it a day, turn around. It's what's best for him, and that's what you really need to be focused on. You want to tell somebody before you leave exactly where you're going, and let them know that you're bringing your dog with you. Don't forget to mention that part. If you're going somewhere in like a national park or a forest that has forest rangers, and there's a little place where you check in, a lot of places in Maine where I live have that, and it's a great feature. The park closes, say, at like 8 o'clock at night. So everybody that hasn't checked out by 8 o'clock at night, they try and contact those people and see if, did you just forget to sign out, or, are you lost somewhere out on the hiking trail? So make sure that not only does somebody know where you are, but that they also know that your dog is with you, because your dog and you may get separated, and then they're going to need to be looking for both of you. So keep that in mind as well, to let someone know where you're going and that your dog is with you. And of course, there are some must-have things that you're going to need to pack with you. I already mentioned making sure that your dog's in a harness. I prefer the harness over the collar. I always recommend that. Hiking is exciting, and your dog may be pulling a little bit more than normal. It's a lot more comfortable when the weight is dispersed through his chest. The force of his pulling is dispersed through his chest and not around his neck. So definitely the harness is the way to go. You don't have to worry about your dog slipping out of a harness the way that he might be able to slip out of a collar. So definitely a harness, definitely a good quality leash, a leash that's going to be not retractable. Retractable leashes are terrible for hiking. They allow your dog way too much space, and the little ribbons that retract that part of the leash are not as strong as a regular traditional leash. So just a regular traditional leash, I would recommend no more than 6 feet long. You want to be able to keep your dog close to you when you need to. So if it has a little traffic handle down by where it attaches to your dog's collar, that's great. Harnesses sometimes will have a handle up on the back, and those are great too. But make sure there's a way that you can hang on to your dog if you do need to, in the event that other hikers are coming, or other dogs, or maybe there's a squirrel or wild animal around and you want to just hold on to your dog closely. You need to be able to do that. Another must-have is a first aid kit, and you need it to have dog-specific items in it as well. Do a little bit of research. If you jump on our website, theoryofpets.com, if you're watching this on social media or YouTube, click the link below it. It'll take you to our website, and I have a link there for the must-have essential items in a dog first aid kit. A lot of these items, like gauze pads, cotton swabs, ice packs, tweezers, peroxide, blunt end scissors, that kind of stuff, you'll find those in human first aid kits as well. So you might just buy a human first aid kit, and then you'll have the Band-Aids and all the things that you might need for yourself, plus some of the stuff that you need for your dog. And you can just add in the other dog specific items that you don't have. If you want, maybe you already have a little first aid kit for yourself and you just want to make one that's specifically for your dog. Just do a little bit of research, figure out what you should have, what you might need, especially if you're hiking, and just keep that in your pack. It doesn't weigh a lot. You can put it in a really small little, like a Tupperware container or a little zippered pouch or something like that. It doesn't take up a lot of room, and it doesn't weigh your pack down. So make sure you bring a first aid kit with you. The other thing that I always recommend that pet owners have is bowls and water. Of course, your dog's going to be needing water, and bring a little bit of food. Your dog's going to be burning extra calories while you're hiking. So if he has a little snack in the middle of the day, it's not going to hurt him weight-wise. He's not going to be getting a ton of extra calories because he's going to be burning them off. You may want to get your dog his own backpack. Obviously, with smaller breeds, this can be an issue because they can't carry as much. But if you have a large dog, for example, our chocolate lab, she does have a backpack that she wears, a backpack harness, so I can clip a leash right to it. They make these. There's tons of them out there for dogs. There's some really good quality, like saddlebag style packs. And our chocolate lab carries all of the supplies that she needs, plus the supplies for our beagle, because our beagle's too little to carry her own pack. So Sadie carries it for both of them, and I put their stuff in there. It gets the weight off my pack, and gives your dog a job. They feel good about that. Just make sure that you get a pack that fits and is comfortable. Obviously, that's going to take a little bit of research and maybe some testing if you go into your local pet store and try them on or whatever. But a dog backpack might be a good thing to bring as well. As I mentioned, the bowl, the water, the food. You might want to bring some bug spray or some kind of natural. There's different essential oils, things like that. Whatever you're into to keep the bugs away, to keep the bugs off you and your dog, I would recommend that, especially if you're somewhere like I am in Maine. We have mosquitoes everywhere. They are terrible in the summertime, so we always bring bug spray. Poop scoop bags, always bring dog poop bags. Do not ever leave your dog's waste out somewhere. One, this is a public trail. Other people don't appreciate that. And two, it's actually not good for the environment to leave dog poop laying around everywhere. So make sure that you bring some poop bags with you. Other things that you might need are some paw wax if your dog happens to have, cracked paws or something like that. Different kinds of paw waxes can be used as a protectant, and they'll actually make the pads a little bit tougher. You can buy boots if you're going somewhere where the terrain's really rough. If you do buy dog boots and use them before the hike. Same way with a dog backpack. This is something new to your dog. He's going to be wearing something new. It's going to be uncomfortable in the beginning. So let him walk around the house with the pack or the boots on for a few days before you leave. Let him get really comfortable in them. Even start like 10 days, maybe a week before you leave. Just put them on every day. Let him get really comfortable with them. And that would be my recommendation. Then by the time that you go hiking, he's going to be fine. And he's actually going to enjoy wearing whatever he's wearing because it's going to protect his feet. Or with the pack, it's going to have all his belongings in it. So Before you go on your hike, you also want to plan, as I mentioned, according to the weather, and you're going to plan your route. You're going to let somebody know where you're going. And then really after that, you've got everything that you need. Your dog's ready to go. He's been okayed by the vet. You've made your plans. Now it's time to get out there and hike. If you're thinking that this is going to be a lot easier and you didn't realize that there was so much to it, don't worry. A lot of new hikers or new hikers with dogs feel the same way. So, certain things to consider is check out where you're going in advance. If you've heard about a hiking trail that you want to go to or a public park, a national park, something like that, make sure that dogs are allowed and make sure that it's a dog-friendly hiking trail. Some trails are too steep. There's a lot of rocks, things that aren't appropriate for your dog. So be sure that it's a dog-friendly area, a dog-friendly trail before you set out on your hike. So here we are. We're ready to go. You've got everything that you need. Your dog's okayed. You've made your plans. Everything's good. So now there are a few things that you should be considering when you're hiking. Of course, keep your dog in mind. Maybe feed him a little bit extra in the morning just to give him those extra calories. Feed him at least an hour before you go because you want to make sure that he's not hiking on a full stomach just the same way that you will. You want to make sure that his body's had time to process that food, give him the energy that he needs. And then, make sure that you stop for plenty of water. You don't want your dog drinking water out of natural sources, streams, puddles, things like that. There are bacteria in standing water that's found out in nature. So, like I said, bring plenty of clean, fresh water and let him have a drink every 20 minutes, 30 minutes. If it's hot, maybe even closer to 15 or 20 minutes. If it's not so hot and the hike's not really strenuous, you can go 30 or 40 minutes. Stop for a water break. At least a couple of times an hour would be my recommendation. And if you're hiking a long way, every couple of hours, also provide your dog with a little bit of food. That will, like I said, it gives him those extra calories that he's burning, gives him the energy that he needs to keep going on your hike. So if you're hiking for more than 2 hours, give him a little snack about every 2 hours. That's it, guys. Those are all my tips for hiking with dogs. Like I said, some things to do before the hike and during the hike. And then after the hike, one tip that I didn't mention was, to let your dog kind of decompress, massage his body. Don't just let him flop down and do nothing. You want to kind of cool his muscles down. So after a hike, do just a short walk, maybe around the parking lot before you get into the car. Something that's not strenuous, but it's kind of just giving those muscles time to unwind and cool down. Once you get home, give him a little massage. Make sure that he's feeling good. If he has any places where it seems like it's bothering him, keep an eye on that. Maybe he just strained a little extra while you were on your hike, but you definitely want to keep tabs on that. So that's what you want to do after the hike. That's pretty much all of the tips that I have. Like I said, we hike with our dogs quite frequently. So if you have any questions about hiking with your dog, feel free, jump on our website. It's theoryofpets.com. You can leave comments, questions there. If you have any tips that I forgot, be sure to include those as well. If you have some products that you always bring when you hike with your dog that you found made things easier, we'd love to hear about those as well. And while you're on our website, if you could take just a minute to jump on iTunes, the link is there, and give me a review. If you like the podcast and you enjoy listening, that really helps me when I'm reaching out to other people, experts in the pet industry, and other people that I would like to have as guests on the show. I can show them that you guys are really out there. I'm not just making this up. You like it. You want to hear more. So that really makes them it just helps to motivate them to come on the show when they know that you guys are liking and listening. So be sure to do that. I hope you enjoyed this episode, guys, and I will see you back very soon.